Thanks, Valerie, for joining me again for our second episode of CX100 Unplugged.
Well, thank you. I'm kind of excited about this.
Yes, me too. I enjoyed talking with you last time, kind of learning about, your journey and why it's important to you to be a female CEO and a Hispanic CEO. And we talked a little bit about, your vision for CX100. So if you're okay with it, I would like to kind of just get right into it.
I'd love that.
Awesome. So I would love it if you could spend some time, because I know that being technology agnostic was so important to you when creating CX100. Can you explain why it was so important to you a little bit more?
Oh, I'd love to. My background and my lineage, if you will, from a technology perspective, has always been in the SAP space. So we like to say in that world that we bleed blue, right? Whenever we talk to a customer or a prospect, we're constantly thinking of how we can align SAP solutions to their needs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, no one technology solution is a one-size-fits-all model. So one of the things that we absolutely committed to is probably the best way to put it when we started CX100 was committing to an agnostic perspective, taking a step back. And instead of engaging at the point where decisions have already been made in terms of the technology footprint, the architecture, the solution, or the platform that a customer is going with, we wanted to take a step back and engage at the point of strategy, really become part of the strategy conversation, both from a customer-facing perspective, but also from a technology footprint perspective. Really understand the goals that the organization has and that they're trying to execute upon, and then help them fill that gap through technology. Now, when that happens, we have a unique opportunity to really assess the environment of the customer, assess what their current technology footprint looks like, and then make recommendations in terms of what is the best solution on the market today for their particular needs, current architecture, and optimization of the investments that they've made thus far. Now, when we take this from a point of strategy, we have a unique perspective, number one. And number two, we have an opportunity to recommend solutions that aren't too small, that aren't too large, that aren't more than their need, aren't less than they need. And really, it reduces the need for customization because we're able to choose the solution that's best for them at that time while taking into consideration their long-term goals. What's going to be able to grow with them based on the scale that they forecast. So that essentially put us in a position of leading with strategy rather than leading with product. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And we've really kind of doubled down on that for 2023. And we absolutely feel like this was the right decision for us moving forward. And I think it's had a positive impact on our customers and prospects.
I also think that we have so many partners and we work with so many people that we really can cover end to end. And that kind of like leads into my next question, where I know we do so much and we do so much with so many people. Can you share a little bit of information on the various practice areas and how they support that end-to-end journey?
So I think that one of the points that's important to make when we talk about end-to-end or so many people or so many partners, as you put it, is the fact that we don't boil the ocean. We don't do everything for everybody all the time. But what we do is we understand, based on the way that we've organized our organization, how to dig into who are the market leaders in these various different areas and what they offer. We also have kind of an ongoing, iterative battle card, if you will. Why is this solution better than that one? That type of thing for a customer. So to answer your question, what does end-to-end really mean to an organization like CX100? What I say as part of our value proposition to our customers, prospects, and partners is that we help our customers to optimize on every single touch point that they have with their customer, and in turn, their customer has with them as a company, with their product, or their brand. So that entails a journey. Now, for those of you who are kind of tapped into this industry, then you understand what a customer journey is. For those of you that aren't, a customer journey is essentially a map, if you will, a trail that you follow that starts at awareness, I'll say, right? A customer becomes aware of your company, your brand, or your product through many different avenues, through many different channels. But once they become aware, then they actually interact or engage with your customer at many different points, or your company, excuse me, at many different points in their journey with you. So if we take that journey, if we take that map, if we take that trail to the point of awareness all the way through to advocacy, it looks something like this. Strategy, right? How do we reach our customers? That's a very marketing forward, go-to-market conversation. So there's brand building, there's SEO, there's the experience that a customer has with your organization. And if you get elemental, that could include UX, UI, design, all of marketing solutions, email campaigns, visits from a sales rep, all sorts of different things. Then when a customer actually makes the decision to buy from you, that often requires on the customer side research. It didn't always. Customers used to go into a store. It was a very brick and mortar type of conversation. Now they go online, they research you, they look at your reviews, they look at kind of what the market has said are the best solutions, maybe industry reports or consumer reports. And most oftentimes, a customer is making a decision in terms of what they will buy from you before they ever visit your website or go into your store. It's a very important piece to understand because the influence that a company has on those steps and stages is absolutely a technology-enabled process. So once they decide to make a purchase, they go on your website or they go into your store. There's a lot of different things that come into play there that all factor around experience. Today, we are a culture of immediate gratification. If I go, for example, on Instagram and I see a product that I like, I want to be able to tap into it. I want to be able to go to the website in one click. I want to be able to see the price and the size and all of that. And then I want to be able to buy it in a way that is convenient and seamless for me. All of that is technology enabled. If there is a hiccup in any step of that process, I may abandon that cart and leave that website and go on with my day. So we partner with our customers to make sure that that is a seamless journey by enabling every step of that in a way that is seamless and satisfactory to the customer. Now, in the store, oftentimes the same thing. We want that experience to be seamless. We want it to be satisfactory. We want it to be up to the level of our expectations. We want it to be technology enabled by point of sale systems, by being able to pull in coupons and rewards and all sorts of things that the customer may not have at their own fingertips anymore. People don't carry around little booklets of coupons anymore. They want everything to be digitally enabled. They want their loyalty to be rewarded. They want to be recognized when they come into a store, or maybe even come in, give their name and have their cart pulled up on a point of sale system. So there's a lot of different ways, again, 100% digitally enabled by organizations like ourselves. Once a purchase is made, probably one of the most important steps takes place, and that's fulfillment and customer service. A customer wants to know where their package is, when it's getting to them, the route that it takes, believe it or not. Once we gave that information to somebody, they wanted it from that moment on. The important thing to remember in terms of customer experience is that if your competitor is doing it, it is now the expectation of your customer. And 100% of these things are technology enabled. Those are the things that we execute on for our customers. So again, customer experience, fulfillment, all of that, very, very important, can absolutely turn a customer into an advocate. Now, what we mean by that is I've had an excellent experience with this particular provider or website or whatever. And now I'm going to turn around and tell the world about it. We all know that people tend to cry loudest when they're not happy. So we want to make sure that we make our customer happy at every step of their journey with us, so that from the point of awareness to the point of advocacy, we are satisfying, meeting, or exceeding their expectations. And that is what we do. Now, we do that leveraging specific types of technology. Marketing technology, which at the end of the day is really all about data and leveraging large amounts of data in consumable formats so that we can turn insight into action. It also involves customer relationship management like CRM. It involves oftentimes much more complex processes like CPQ, or configure, price, and quote. It involves customer service solutions and workflows, ticketing solutions, that type of thing. It involves e-commerce at really the core and heart of all of these various different touch points with the customer. And then again, I'll circle back around to data, because data at the end of the day is the new black.
Love that. That's totally what you're saying. That's the thing that makes me think of you. So you walked us through that customer journey, and CX100 is all about coming in at that point of strategy. So what would you recommend to brands when, or where they're to start when analyzing where they could improve that customer experience?
So it's kind of a tricky question, right? And a very loaded question, because everyone wants to know, where do I start? When the saying or the moniker digital transformation came about, CIOs, CEOs, CFOs, CROs, all the C's, knew they needed to address digital transformation to remain competitive in their respective markets. The problem was nobody really knew what all it encompassed. And it encompasses everything that I just talked about, including a very large piece of a go-to-market strategy for that organization. And then granular things like user experience and user interface. So when we look at where is the right place to start my digital transformation journey, I would first of all recommend that a brand or a company partners with an organization like ours to first of all understand what their current customer journey is, and then what their optimal customer journey is, because only then can we figure out how to bridge the gap between strategy and execution. That's number one. Sometimes that entails a couple of good conversations. Sometimes it entails an on-site workshop and assessment. Really depends on where the customer sits. If all of that is already done, you probably have a really good idea of where you need to start, or where the largest areas of your opportunity are. Now, there's never a bad time, regardless of where CX100 starts in terms of where we ideally would like to start at strategy. There's never a bad time to engage us. If you have your strategy, if you have your customer journey map figured out, mapped out, if you will, and you know that your next step is to lift and shift to a new commerce platform, or to upgrade or update the platform that you're on, customize it, augment it, great place to start. If you've got all of that, but you have an open loop marketing and go-to-market strategy, meaning that it's not a closed loop, it doesn't feed back into the system or the engine, if you will, also a good place to start. It's kind of a cafeteria plan, if you will. Take what you need when you need it and when the right time for your company is. But I really recommend mapping out the current customer journey state and the desired state, so that you always know what you're working towards. It's not good to act on all of this at any point without a plan.
You can't know what you don't know, and you can't improve what you don't know.
And you can't improve what you can't measure, right? So this is all very important when we look at the plan. How do we figure out where they are versus where they're going, and how are we going to measure success and goal attainment along the way? All of that is part of a healthy plan in terms of digital transformation for organizations today.
And I think also, the idea of digital transformation, like you said, it was this thing where so many people were saying it, but what does that actually mean? The one thing that I've come to the realization is that transformation doesn't actually ever stop. You can start it, but like if you're not always transforming and updating and making improvements, then you're the person behind your competitor.
Exactly. And to go back to what I said before, if your competition is doing it, that is now the level of your customer's expectation of you and your brand, your company, and your product. That's very important. I usually categorize companies into 3 different groups, if you will. The bleeding edge group, which is the group that says we want to do it before everybody else. We want to be the leaders of the pack. We want to be the ones that try and fail, try and succeed. They're willing to make the investment. Then there are those that are fast followers that say, okay, I've got to keep up with the competition. Company A just set the bar. We've got to make sure that we're on that same path. And then we have those that are less willing to change, less willing to make those investments, and are a little bit more risk averse, right? Those companies, believe it or not, are where the majority of companies sit. So a lot of what we do is help those companies understand where the market is, where their competitors are, and what if they don't make these changes? What if they don't commit to transformation? What if they don't have a true and solid plan for digital transformation? Then what? And honestly, for those companies, it's not so much transformational, it's transitional. It's how do we get them in an iterative process to where they need to be. So when we look at companies, we look at them as one of those 3 different types or categories, and then we kind of have to act on the behaviors of those organizations. So for those that are a little slower to act or react, or maybe their governing boards are not as progressive as they wish they were, there are ways to work through that as well. And a lot of that is through competitive analysis.
Well, my last question is, again, on that idea of transformation, could you share some results of some customers of ours, of what they've seen when embarking on an experience transformation?
Well, I think one of my favorite stories to tell is of a customer that I would consider to be not bleeding edge, but definitely that fast follower category. And they committed very early on to having a strong e-commerce channel, right? So they are, by all intents and purposes, a brick and mortar store, and that's what they were known for. And I would say that probably 20% of their profits came through their e-com channel. And a lot of it was buy online, pick up in store. So that was all well and good, but they didn't let it stop there. They didn't let that be the end of their digital transformation. They continued to move towards that goal state ultimately, which was shifting to a primary online model and eventually moving towards probably 50 to 60% of their business coming through their e-com channel. When COVID hit, 100% of their stores were closed. They could no longer service their customer, leveraging the business model that they had put in place. Because of the preparations that they had made on the digital side, 100% of their business shifted to e-com. And what they did, because of the plans that they had initially, they were able to turn their brick and mortar stores into regional distribution centers on the fly, and they were able to ship regionally from those stores to the customers who were forced to buy online. Now, that sounds very complicated when at the end of the day, it was very easy because they were prepared. They had expected to come in at a certain number for the year overall, e-com and brick and mortar. And not only did they meet that number, they exceeded it by about 300%. So it was a huge success story. And it was also an exceptional example of being able to react to ever-changing market conditions by being prepared digitally.
Well, I love that. I mean, I think no one really knew what was going to happen, especially with COVID. So to be able to make such a seamless transition and have such a huge profit is amazing.
It was pretty exciting. Yeah, revenues that year were out of the ballpark.
Yeah. Well, that is all I had for you today. So thank you so much for, taking the time to talk with us again, and I look forward to future conversations.
Thank you, Lauren. I really appreciate the time, and I hope this is valuable to everyone.